Henning the Moore, reporting live from the liquor store. How's everybody doing today, man? Hey, it's Thursday evening. It's about 5 o'clock where I'm at, a little bit before, about 4 minutes to five. So, hey, a lot of y'all just now getting off. A lot of y'all done started y'all weekend, man. I know some of y'all work 4 on and 3 off. So, hey, it's definitely time for a liquor store run, man. Salute to y'all, man, for making it through, the work week. So, hey, salute to y'all, man, for tapping in, showing love to the liquor store, man. Real quick, let me give y'all some shout outs. I see some folks waiting in line to get into the liquor store. So, I definitely got to show y'all love and support for rocking with your boy like that. What's up with your Michael Lockhart, part of the Wrench Gang? I see you. Jameson Taylor tapping in with me. I see you, my boy. Miss Etta Lockhart. The Lockharts is deep in the building. Salute to y'all. The original people, man. What's up with you, my boy? I appreciate you for coming in through the door and showing some love. Desmond Ironman, my boy Tony Stark in the building. What's up with you? Stephen Harrison, what's good, man? So, hey, we're going to take a look, at a couple different things today, man. Hey, Bruce ran it through the door. I see you, boy. What's up, with Bruce got the toxic juice. Hey, we might got some toxic juice, in stock right now. We've been having Eagle tears on deck. So, I always tell y'all, lay off that just a little bit, man. I believe, Eagle fans take fentanyl. So, I think they tears are real potent. So I don't want y'all to really deal with that like that. They be out here tweaking. So, we don't really want to touch them Eagle tears like that. But, it is on deck if you're brave like that. So we do got that. And we also got gin, we got hen, we got whatever it takes to make you sin. So come on in. And we're going to get drunk on this Dallas Cowboy content together, man. Yo, Joe, what's up with you, Joe? I see you sliding through the door, my boy. I appreciate you for tapping in and showing love to the channel, man. Salute to you. So, yeah, man, we got some we got some stuff to talk about today, man. We're going to talk about the Texas Coast offense, man. Justin Kitchen, what's up with you? We're going to talk about the Texas Coast offense and what to expect from it. We're going to talk about Ezekiel Elliott versus Dalvin Cook. Who would you rather have? What do the numbers say? So we're going to have us a nice show, man. We're going to have us a real good show. Got to be careful, man. Them Eagles fans be on that bath salt. Man, listen, you got to be on something to eat raw dookie out of the horses behind. So that they is not right in the head. They's on bath salt, crack, fentanyl. They on all the heavy drugs at one time. At the same damn time, they are all that hard stuff. So we're gonna be careful if we ever go out there and participate in drinking Eagle tears, because we know it might not end well for us. So yeah, man. So real quick before we get into the content, man. Also remember that we are still running the raffle for the Dallas Cowboy home game ticket. You'll get to go see the Dallas Cowboys completely and utterly destroy the Philadelphia Eagles in person. So, last time I went to a home game when the Dallas Cowboys played the Eagles, we won by 20 plus points. I went to a 2021 home opener, saw Jalen Hurts throw that pick six right in front of me. It was beautiful. Matter of fact, Eagles fans be talking so crazy. They were asking. I was walking out the stadium that day, and they were begging, to see what Gardner Minshew could do at that point, right? So don't ever let them tell you they were always convinced and always had this love for Jalen Hurts. After that home opener game, they were ready to throw him under the bus. They were ready to leave him in Dallas. So don't let them tell you anything. So yeah, man. But if you want to participate and get a chance to go to one of these to this game. Send $10 to $ Henny the Moore. You can send as many times as you want. And, we do not end the raffle until the 1st of August. First place winner gets the ticket with a seat. Second place winner gets a ticket for standing room area. Third place winner gets a ticket. No, third place winner gets a jersey or a PlayStation 4, depending on which one they want. So, with that said, if you want to participate or if you just want to support the channel and the content, hit the Cash App. Now that that's out the way, man, I've been waiting to bring this show to y'all, man. The Lunatic, what's up with you, man? Thank you. My boy said he done slapped the 50 fan up. My boy It's Too Easy and tapped in with me. Salute to y'all, man. So, let's go into it, man. Let's talk about this new offense first. I know I got Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott on the on the thumbnail, but let's talk about this offense first. We can bring it back around to the running back conversation after that. We can tie that back in together. So we'll start off with the offense. So as we said, this is really what got us here talking about a damn, Texas coast. He said, "Glad you feeling better, Henny." Hey, I feel about as good as I can feel, man. So rain, sleet, or snow, still got to put the content out, still got to work. So we're gonna push through. Yo, what's up with your Patrice Langford? Thank you for tapping in. You said, "What's going on, Henny, in the chat?" Hey, we living good. We living righteous over here, man. We doing good. We doing all right. So Dak Prescott was talking about, the Texas Coast offense and what that actually meant. He said his words, quote unquote, "It would be a combination of their previous offense and the West Coast offense." So Big Benny Rich, what's up with you, man? He said he had to kick the boys in the nuts. I know that's right, man. Hey, they don't need to multiply. They don't need to propagate anything like that. So you're doing the right thing right there, man. So in regards to this Texas Coast offense, as they have named it, let's just talk about the obvious. There were a lot of good things, and I hate to say this, there were a lot of good things that the previous offense was able to do. It was. Dak Prescott had his best. Yo, what's up with you, Mickey? I see you tapping in with me. Salute to you. Yeah, we back in here. Hey, I'm feeling as good as I can feel, but we're gonna get through the rest of the show. We're gonna get this content out, and we're gonna have a good time while doing it. Indeed. So I hate to give Kellen Moore any kind of props, but they did do some good things, with that offensive system. Dak Prescott has averaged over 30 points the last 3 years. The last 3 years that he's played, this team has averaged over 30 points when he's in the game. 2020, they were averaging over 30 points. 2021, they averaged over 30 points. And in the games he played, the 12 games that we played with him in this season in 2022, we averaged over 30 points. Dak Prescott had his best passing season in both yardage and touchdowns in that system. He threw for over 4,900 yards in 2019 when Kellen Moore first became the offensive coordinator, and then in 2021 he threw for 37 touchdowns, his personal best and also the franchise best for touchdowns in a season. So they did do some good things, in regard to that offense. However, the shortcomings in that offense was the comeback routes, were the option routes, and listen, in theory, the option route, is supposed to work and supposed to win. But because this is not Madden, because defensive coordinators make a lot of money, because defenses can also be multiple, option routes can be a very messy thing that you try to run them often. Because a standard defense that does not try to hide the highest coverage, they just line up, play you straight up. Those are the kind of schemes that the option route can win against. It's cover one man. That you can break that you can give them the slant and win, right? You had a curl call, it's cover one man, so you can run a slant and beat that 9 times out of 10 as long as you run your route correctly, get the right depth, so on and so forth. The tricky issue is when a team is good at hiding its coverages. Let's say you believe it's man, but it's actually zone. So now you're running the wrong option route. You made the wrong choice. You've been confused. You've been tricked, and now the play is there before it even gets a chance to take off. So that in lies the problem. So in theory, an option route can work a lot of times, but that's not really how it happened, and that's not really how it works in the NFL. These guys are all professionals. The defensive coordinators make a lot of money, and a lot of these guys do not, just play you straight up. A lot of these guys are exotic with their looks. A lot of guys show cover 2 and fall into cover 1 robber. Some defenses show cover one and they fall into cover two. They rotate into cover two or cover six or wherever the hell they're actually running. So it's a crapshoot to be honest. And then not only does the wide receiver have to be right, the quarterback has to be right as well, because the quarterback has to get the ball out of his hand 9 times out of 10 before the route is even finished. So that was the hiccup when it came in regards to the heavy usage option routes that Kellen Moore liked to implement within the last system. Because the Kellen Moore ran a variation of the number of the digit system. It's called a digit system because theoretically, all the wide receiver has to know is the name of the route. So, for instance, we all know that a nine ball 9 route is a go route, right? So, it's a simple fade. So, in theory, they should be able to line up. They should be able to get the digit, the number 9. You hear the number 9, you're running a fade. So in practice, that stuff sounds good and dandy, but there's always a difference in between theory, and then there's a difference between theory and actual practice and implication of a philosophy. So with that said, we all saw the end result of what happened. We saw this offense get shut down when it didn't need to. We saw this offense struggle against the San Francisco 49ers in back-to-back playoff games. We saw this offense struggle in the last game of the season against the Washington Commanders. There have been times where this offense could not get off the ground. We saw this offense go to Kansas City and get totally shut out in a game where your defense actually played well too. So we've seen this offense, at the end of the season, you look back, it's number one offense, right? Number one offense in terms of production. We've seen this offense in key integral games and key integral moments not be able to move the ball and not be able to score points. So, for all the good that they had and they did, there were still areas to improve, and there were still areas where you could get more bang for your buck. Hey, what's up with you, Miss Regina Green? How you doing? So pretty much what they are trying to do, they are trying to take the good things, right? Because I did say there were some good things. They're going to take the good things from the previous offense, the no ID, the digit system, whatever you want to call it, and they're going to take out a lot of those option routes. They're going to take the option routes out. They're going to take the comeback outs route, which none of those things really fit within the West Coast system, and they're going to implement more West Coast concepts instead of that. So first, we're going to talk about the key aspects of that system that actually worked. Right, we're going to talk about what actually worked, the concepts that actually worked for Dak Prescott, and then we're going to see what kind of West Coast concepts we can expect to see moving forward in terms of what we're going to add. Because when you hear the term West Coast offense, it's actually really a broad term. It's a very broad term for a theory and a concept, and it's not really just a group of singular plays. You hear West Coast, right? Bill Walsh is one of the originators of the West Coast offense. Well, his version of the West Coast offense is not the same as Mike McCarthy's version of the West Coast offense that got dubbed the Gulf Coast offense at one point. Mike McCarthy's version of the West Coast offense is not the same version of the West Coast offense that Brian Schottenheimer ran in Seattle when it was more power run with play action and flood concepts behind it, right? Then you look at somebody that was in the same division, the Rams. You look at what Sean McVay did in terms of play calling in his West Coast system. Well, he runs the West Coast offense as well, and his stuff is nothing like theirs either. His offensive concepts were based off of the stretch run. Yeah, like they referred to what McCarthy was doing in Green Bay as the Gulf Coast offense at one point, because it was his spin on the West Coast offense. So and that is going to be entirely different from what we're going to do too, right? Because they use the terminology of Texas Coast offense. The Texas Coast offense, I'm pretty sure it'll be different offensive concepts. It'll probably be a hodgepodge, right? It probably won't be Gulf Coast, but it probably won't be all the way Brian Schottenheimer either. It'll probably they would probably marry their best concepts, to go along with the best concepts from what Kellen Moore's system was going to be. So when Dak Prescott says that not many people are going, it's not something that really exists. It's because it's an admiration. It's a damn my words are slurred. It is a mashup. It's a mixed bag. It's an admiration of all three of those things. It's going, in theory, they are going to use the best concepts from what Kellen Moore was doing. They're going to use the best concepts from what Mike McCarthy was doing with his Gulf Coast style offense, and then they're going to use the best concepts, more than likely the run game and the play action concepts from what Brian Schottenheimer did in Seattle, where he was able to orchestrate an offense where Russell Wilson threw for 40 touchdowns while still being a power run team. So that's what they're going to do in theory. Now, when we talk about the things that worked, we got to really look at the things that worked for Dak Prescott. And when we think about the things that really worked for Dak, it was the play action pass. Now, the Dallas Cowboys were not a team that utilized play action at an extremely high rate, but when Dak Prescott was the recipient of play action calls and play action plays throughout the course of his career, he always capitalized on those opportunities to do damage, to get chunk yardage, to score touchdowns, and he had a very high completion percentage, a very low turnover percentage, and a very high touchdown to interception ratio when he implemented play action for Dak Prescott. So if you ask me, what are some of the things you want to take from what Kellen Moore did? Really, it's not overall just that, but it's play action in totality. It's the play action in totality. And I'm going to show you why. Y'all know that I did these numbers before. I went ahead and I shrunk it down so y'all can see it all on one screen. So don't worry about the bottom. The bottom are actually rankings for screen passing. This right here at the top is going to be what you want to look at to see Dak Prescott's success year to year while utilizing play action concepts. So with play action concepts, yeah, so it's more like gumbo. Everybody likes shrimp, everybody like taters, everybody like this, that. Just throw it all in there. Everything you like, throw it in there. So you're just really taking the best of the best and putting it all together and seeing what you get. And in theory, there's nothing wrong with that. Right. So look at Dak Prescott in his totality. So for his career, he is one of the best play action quarterbacks in NFL history, actually. So when you look for his career, Dak Prescott has attempted 822 play action attempts over the course of his 7-year career, 2016 to 2020 to 2022. And out of those 822 attempts, he completed 562 of them. Right. So that ends up being a completion percentage of 68.3 for Dak Prescott's career when he utilized play action. And really, look at what Kellen Moore was able to do for Dak Prescott with play action in the last 2 seasons alone. Right? Don't even look at the entire body of work. Just look at what Kellen Moore did with Dak Prescott over the last 2 years that they were together. So Dak Prescott, if you count the numbers up and you add them together, all right, when you add all these numbers together, Dak Prescott had 20 passing touchdowns off of play action and only 3 interceptions over the course of a 2-year stretch. So that is a phenomenal touchdown interception ratio, right? You're throwing 20 touchdowns, you only threw 3 picks when you utilize play action, right? You're completing a very high percentage of your passes. Again, for his career, 68.3% completion. For his career, look at the total body of that, 48 touchdowns off of play action to 11 interceptions. So, play action has always been a quarterback's best friend in terms of giving him easy reads, easy completions. But Dak Prescott takes it to the next level when you give him those layups. He doesn't just turn those into layups. He turns those into slam dunks. So Dak Prescott is one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League when you allow him to get to use play action. And it really doesn't matter the kind of play action. It can be a play action that leaves him in the pocket. It can be a play action that gets him on the edge, right, on a bootleg. He still destroys a defense. So, when we're talking about marrying what we did good, those were one of the things that we did at a very elite and high level in terms of actually getting Dak Prescott in quarterback-friendly situations to deliver the ball accuracy, score, and also protect the ball, right? So those are things that he did well out of that system, at least one of them. Yo, what's up with you, Dwayne Brown? Thank you for tapping in and showing love, man. So play action definitely is a concept that needs to make its way into the Texaco system, and I believe that they will, because Brian Schottenheimer, when he utilized play action, he utilized it at a high rate as well. Russell Wilson never had a season with Brian Schottenheimer that he had under 139 pass attempts, out of play action. Every single season he had at least 139 pass attempts, out of play action. So in theory, that's something that worked, in the offense when Kellen Moore was here. That's something that worked for Brian Schottenheimer when he was in Seattle using Russell Wilson. So in theory, that is going to be something that rolls over into this new Texas offense. And I do believe that it will pay dividends. So we heard from Dak Prescott. I also mentioned Brian Schottenheimer. Hold on. So this is Brian Schottenheimer while he is discussing this new Texaco system that they'll be implementing, right? And he says a lot of the things that I said in terms of a lot of the things worked, but there were a lot of things that did not work. So this is Cowboys OC Brian Schottenheimer on running the Texas Coast offense, a combination of the West Coast offense and Dallas previous offense. I've said it and I do believe it. It wasn't broke. And he is referring to Kellen Moore's old system, the digit system, the no name offense, no ID offense, whatever you would like to call it. What they've done here over the last 5, 6, 7 years has been really good since Dax came into the league. We wanted to keep a lot of that in place. That's what our players know. We're a veteran, strong offense that has added some really cool pieces. We tried to protect some of the language, the things that Dak has used for a long time, but we certainly added some wrinkles. Not to put a number on it, but we're somewhere in that keep 70% ish. We've certainly added some flavor. I like that analogy. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and you don't really have to, because really all you got to do, right? And we're parents. Just take your baby out of the bathwater, right? Take your baby out the bathwater. Take the plug out the tub. Let the water drain out. Clean the tub out. Run a new bath. Put your baby back in. Right? You keep the most important thing. The baby is the most important thing. The most important thing within this offense is Dak Prescott's, ability to be comfortable. Dak Prescott's, offensive input, his production, right? Being able to score 30 points, being able to to play at an elite level within the confines of that offense. But there were things that, as we mentioned, that really held this offense back from being an elite levels, system. We all have identified that Dak Prescott had 7 interceptions off of 7 non-turnover worthy plays. That happened because of the option routes. That happened because of the comeback routes. Because teams were able to sit on those comeback routes and jump them. Teams were able to confuse the wide receivers and force them into making the wrong making the wrong choice within the option route system. So there were things that really held it back. But one thing I do want to point out, he said they're going to keep about 70% of the offense in place. Well, 30%, right, is still a lot. Because think about this. 70% of the world is water. Africa, the United States, Canada, all these big body of land where the entire human race exists on is only 30% of the world. So when you say 30%, that still is a whole ton. That's a whole mass of plays and concepts and designs that you're overhauling. So, even though they say, hey, it's going to be a 70% turnover, 30% of anything is a huge amount to try and overhaul. But, think about what they're losing. They're losing the plays that got you in trouble. They're losing the plays that got you in trouble. So, shout out to my boy, the original people, for coming in and showing love to the channel, man. I appreciate you for rocking with your boy So Tough, man. Said, yeah, I will never understand why Kellen Joystick Moore went away from Dak's best play at play action. I don't get that either. But, here it comes, where the West Coast comes in. The West Coast concepts come in where you got to get rid of these plays that did not really work for you. Right? You got to get rid of these plays that didn't really work for you. So instead of a comeback route, right? Instead of running a comeback route, let's have them run an over route. Instead of them running an option route, let them run a skinny post, or let them run a corner. Let them run a route where they stay in motion. The quarterback knows when they're supposed to be going into their break, and when he can deliver the ball, and where they're supposed to be. Run these concepts to keep your quarterback out of trouble, to keep your wide receivers out of trouble, to pretty much mitigate the possibilities and opportunities to have errant throws, to have bobbled passes, right? Because a lot of times when you're running an option route, you're still sitting down in the middle of the field where other players can diverge on you, right? They can all lock in on you at that point. So even if you're running an option route and you're supposed to stop and come back to the ball 15 yards deep, right? You're still going to an area of the field, and waiting for the ball to be delivered. Whereas in these West Coast concepts, you're supposed to be hitting the wide receiver while they're on the run. That's the main thing with West Coast concepts. You're on the run, you're on the move. The quarterback has to hit you in stride so you can keep running with the ball, because it's a lot of these concepts are predicated on run after the catch, right? You talk about the straight drop. You talk about the three-step. You talk about the 3-step drop concepts. You talk about the 5-step drop concepts. Where it's where the drop is married to the depth of the route, and when the ball's coming out. It's about spacing. That's when you have to actually sit there and worry about that. So I think utilizing the strengths, utilizing these West Coast concepts over using these option routes is going to lead to a lot of easy scores for Dak Prescott. And really, let's go back to the graph, right? So what's something we can do outside of an option route, right? What's something that's real? What's something that has its roots within the West Coast offense, but is still a safe play, because there are really safe plays. Well, how about a screen? Because this is something that they did not actually do a lot of when Kellen Moore or anybody, right? Because we be forgetting that Kellen Moore, his he learned under Scott. He learned under Linehan. Well, Dak Prescott has been with Linehan or Moore his entire career, and for his entire career, the Dallas Cowboys have been outside of the top 10 in screen usage, right? And when you have a West Coast offense and you have players that fit within the West Coast offense, that means you have a lot of guys that are dangerous with the ball in their hands. You have a lot of guys that are good with yard after the catch. You got a lot of guys that could possibly score. They get a full head of steam. So that would be something that I expect to see a lot more of within this system, right? Because you see here, 2016, Dak Prescott only had 34 pass attempts that were actually screen passes. 2017, Dak Prescott only had 29 pass attempts that were actually screen passes. 2018, Dak Prescott only had 58 pass attempts that were actually screen passes. 2019, he only had 36 pass attempts that were actually screen passes. 2020, I didn't even bother putting it in. We know he didn't have a bunch of screen attempts and he got hurt. 2021, right? You look at the 2021 season, Dak Prescott only had 60 attempts. Now, that was actually his career high. That was actually the most he ever, ran screens. And that was still outside of the top 10, in terms of pass attempts for screens. 2022, I know I went ahead and took my banner down so you can see the last year. 27 attempts, what was 30th. And we know Dak missed time, but still, it was still only 27 screens. You only ran 27 screens over the course of this man entire season. There's offenses that average about five to six screens, in a game. Like they're averaging 5 to 6 screen attempts in a game, and you got us out here, not utilizing screens, at a high rate. And listen, I'm not saying that screens are the end all be all, or they're a magical hack, to jumpstart an offense. But they're a high percentage pass. They get the ball in the hands of playmakers fairly quickly. Dak has always been good at selling screens and selling these fakes. And they actually fit within the West Coast concepts and offense at a much higher clip than an option route would. So how we watch teams do screen and it works, we don't use them at all. Crazy, right? And it's really, it goes to show you that some people are stuck in their ways. Kellen Moore, has always been a guy that thought he was the smartest man in the room. He's always thought that he was the smartest man in the room. So I'm not surprised that he didn't care about using screens. That's not what he was known for. And really what he did, he ran a similar system, in college. So he pretty much tried to bring it to the NFL. It did not really work. So let's go back through what we were talking about. I'm going to change the music. I don't like that one. Let me see what this one sounds like. We got to have some good music in the liquor store. Okay, this sounds a little bit more chill. I can damn near freestyle to this, so I like that. Okay. So, yeah, man. So we just go back and we think about things that worked, things that we want to transplant from what Kellen Moore did with his digit system. We do want to keep Dak Prescott. We do want to keep a lot of the language, right? Dak Prescott has gotten comfortable with the language. He's been within this system for the last 4 seasons. He's comfortable with the language and the terminology. We can keep some of that. Play action, right? Play action concepts Dak Prescott has thrived on. 48 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions, a 68.3 career completion percentage when utilizing play action. We definitely want to keep those concepts when we move over to the Texas Coast offense. What we do not want to keep is the option routes. We do not want to keep the comeback routes. We do not want to keep the over complication of the offensive scheme. We don't want to keep that. So we can replace all of that. So therein lies the 30% of rollover and change that you will see, next season when it comes to what you actually see within the offense. He said that's candlelight music. It just might be, man. But it's smooth though. It really smooth. So keep play action. Get rid of option. Add screens. Add some West Coast concepts like corner routes, over routes, this, that, and the third. And that's probably be, just and listen. There's going to be no way to fully know exactly what the Dallas Cowboys will do from an offensive standpoint. Because as I pointed out, West Coast is a very broad term. Mike McCarthy's West Coast offense is different than Schottenheimer's. Schottenheimer's different than Sean McVay's, right? So and so on and so forth, right? Their West Coast system is different than Shanahan's. But we do know a lot. We do know universally West Coast concepts involve vertical passing game. It involves marrying that with a quick passing game. It involves, in the modern NFL, it involves play action and shots. Flood concepts behind that. So those are some of the things I think will be added within this new offensive system that can elevate us to the next level. So that is the quick little rundown of what you can expect from the Tex Coast, right? We expect Brian Schottenheimer and that power run game. We can expect play action. We should expect screens. We should, expect play action. We should expect the end of these option routes and the comeback routes. Now, let's get into the conversation I want to have in regards to these running backs, right? Because, therein lies. What's up with your sugar daddy one? I see you tapping in with me, man. Thank you for coming through and showing love. I see my boy said, I recall Big Mike saying one reason he stuck with Kellen Moore's system when he got there was because of terminology. Easier for a group to keep the terminology or try to learn new one over one, which is very true. And that's the same thing when it comes to like management, like my brother West Coast be saying. He used to be a manager at a store we will not name. But it is always easier to fire the manager than to replace an entire staff of employees, right? It's easier to replace one person than it is to replace 10 to 15 people. And it's the same thing with this. It's easier to replace Kellen Moore but keep most of his terminology than to try and, overhaul the terminology as well. Because you want these guys to play faster. Right, if they got to learn the system, they're not comfortable with what's being called. They don't know what's going on. They don't know where to go. You're not playing fast. No, from early reports, they're saying they are playing much faster. They're saying that my boy Jalen Tolbert's playing much faster. To get in and out of his so I like that. I do. I have never played football, but I can see when something is broken and Kellen Moore didn't use his offense in a winning way because Dak was a play action king. Facts. Yeah, avoid the learning curve. Really, the best thing that you can want for an offense, especially in the NFL, right? Because we know that teams acquire players through trade all the time up to the deadline. The guys get hurt, and other guys have to step up and play. They pick up players off the practice squad. They pick up free agents because of injury throughout the course of the season. Your offense, you really always want your offense to be plug and play for the most part. You want to be able to plug and play players into your offense to mitigate the possibility of injury, to mitigate the possibility of suspension, whatever it may be, right? So if it's hard to pick up, if it's limits of guys that are coming in where they can't be effective, it really hinders what the hell you can do from building a team throughout the course of the season too, right? If my offense is overly complicated and you would have to been in here for years or months, or you at least have to been here from OTAs to understand what the hell we really want to do. I can't really I can't really plug a player in if I need to, right? I can't really go out in free agency and pick a guy up, that can help me. He said, I'm sure it'll be 30 more next year. And listen, and that's going to be predicated on the success of this offense. If this offense takes off and they're going crazy with it, man, they're going to change a little bit more next year to get more comfortable, right? It really going to always come down to how the offense does and how it performs. If the offense does what everybody expects us to do, and we're able to go out there and score at will, control the clock, run the ball, at the clip that we want to, then I do expect them to replace a little bit more the following season. Man, my boy, the original people put in a hard day's work, man. Salute to you, man. What's up with your editor? I see you spun the block and came back on YouTube. I appreciate the love. Thank you. So now that we have fast players, I would like to see Dak run the Wildcat. Well, I could definitely see him running more RPO concepts again. And one of the things that Dak Prescott spoke about, when he would talk about implementing this new offense, he would talk about getting to the scramble drill. He would talk about taking off running, getting into the scramble drill, the improv, and that's really things that we have not seen a lot of from Dak Prescott, since 2018, since before Kellen Moore. Dak Prescott was one of the most creative guys out of structure in the NFL. He made all kinds of plays outside of the pocket. So, I did not, like that this new system hindered him because he was running option routes. He was waiting for the play to develop. It really limited the amount of times he was able to freelance and escape the pocket and make plays on the run and this, that, and the third. And, I really think that out of structure, Dak Prescott is one of the better quarterbacks there is, man. Like, I've seen him he's been good out of structure since a rookie. Since his rookie season, 2016, he was phenomenal as a guy that could make plays outside of the pocket, when the play breaks down. So, if he's going to get back to that, if that's going to be brought back with this system, and really, when you look at other quarterbacks that ran the West Coast, right? Steve Young did that all the time. Steve Young was a scrambling quarterback, that developed to a very, very, very good passer. Right. So, and he ran in the same not the same, because even though Mike McCarthy was a disciple of Bill Walsh, you never teach it the same way that you were taught it. Right. Everybody that gets the system adds their own wrinkles to it. So again, similar system. We saw what Steve Young did out of the pocket, when the play broke down. Yeah, and he was a lefty. I really do think adding Cooks to our offense this year will make our offense even better. What do you think? Man, Brandon Cook fits this offensive scheme like a glove. For one, he's an underrated route runner. He's a very underrated route runner. And the beautiful thing about it, he still has elite level game speed. He still runs that 4.3. He's good with the ball in his hand, run after the catch. So, yes, I do think that he is an exceptional weapon that we added. I think people are sleeping on him. And the beautiful thing about it, we have him for this year and next year. Also, Michael H., I did, see where they were implementing that rule, where they made a change, to the forward handoff. But I know people are actually taking that out of context. They are actually taking that rule out of context. I'm going to bring it up and talk about it in just 2 seconds. I gotta find it because I know that I have it. Okay, so I sent it to myself. I'm gonna cover that for you since you were kind enough to ask about it. I'm gonna bring it up in the chat box. And I'm gonna share it to the screen. Short. Thank you, DP Johnson. So this is the actual rule. I know it's hard to read because of how I got it posted up here, but I'm gonna read it to you. I'm going to read it to you. Illegal handoffs are now more illegal. I can't actually recall this happening, but it's illegal to hand the ball forward to another player unless it's behind the line of scrimmage. So unless you can hand the ball off to anybody as long they're behind the line of scrimmage, however you want to. You can throw it behind your back of your head. You can hand it off like this. You can hand it off like that. You can hand the ball off, along the players behind the line of scrimmage, however you want to. It really was just a point of emphasis. And like they said, it's something that really happens. But it's just a point of emphasis. You can't hand the ball off to somebody that's already past the line of scrimmage. Right? So that doesn't really affect the RPO. RPO is happening in the backfield, behind the line of scrimmage. All that stuff is unaffected. RPO, read option, you're unaffected by it. So, I know people were making a big deal out of it. I seen it on Facebook. I seen it on Twitter when people were talking about this rule change. It affects nothing. You're never going to hand the ball off to somebody that's past the line of scrimmage. That's damn near impossible. Two, no, a flea flicker is not affected by that because it's a lateral and it's not a forward handoff. It's still a backward handoff because it's a backhanded pass backwards. So yeah, it does not affect the flea flicker. It does not affect the RPO. It does not affect read option. It does not affect play action. It does not affect power run schemes. It does not affect exotic run looks. It affects nothing. They just wanted to put an emphasis on it. Me personally, I've never seen a forward handoff before in my life. I've never seen a forward handoff before in my life. So I just wanted to touch on that for y'all since my brother asked about it. So yeah, we're Gucci. The rule changes affect nothing. But let's talk about, Dalvin Cook. We'll talk about Dalvin Cook and we'll talk about, Ezekiel Elliott. That's the talking point now. We know Dalvin Cook is probably going to end up getting cut, by the end of the day, right? Well, by tomorrow, because they're going to try till the end of the day to trade him. We have not heard anything about him getting traded, so he's going to officially get released tomorrow and become an unrestricted free agent. So first, I'm going to give reasons why Dalvin Cook would work for us. They say Hunter Lipke is making plays. Cool. But the thing I want to see from Hunter, I want to see him do it in live game action. So I'm gonna look to see what he do during preseason and during practices, July 31st going forward. Because July 31st, they were going to have HCM had an epiphany after talking to Boss on his show the other day about the defense. Quinn is running scheme I ran in high school, use the same interchangeable parts we would. 52 is intentionally variable. Well, shit. Hey, they've been very multiple. Since he's gotten here. A lot of people expect to cover 3. He played mostly cover 1 robber his first year here. The next year he implemented a lot more cover 2. So Dan Quinn has been very flexible with his defense about the coverages he wants to run, about the defensive personnel he's willing to rotate in and out. So he's really running a multiple look defense. So I do like it. It's been effective. I think, and listen, we've heard about him, running out lineups with both Mozzie Smith and Jonathan Hankins on the field at the same time. So he's out there having fun with it, man. He's out there throwing stuff against the wall, seeing what works. And when you got real good talent and you got a well-coached team, you will allow that. So I definitely do think that Dan Quinn is going to keep this defense playing at a high level. It's a possibility. Yeah, it's a good possibility that he goes back to Miami. But, since he is currently a free agent, since he is currently somebody that could potentially help the Dallas Cowboys, let's talk about it. So these are all the numbers I'm going to give you in favor of Dalvin Cook. Then I'm going to give you some numbers in favor of Ezekiel Elliott, and then we'll come back together and have a conversation about what is best for the team. So Dalvin Cook has had 4 consecutive 1,100-yard rushing seasons. He's made 4 consecutive Pro Bowl selections, and he is one of the better running backs in the NFL, like hands down. So take a look at this. This is production over the last 4 years, right? So over the last 4 years, Dalvin Cook has the 3rd most rushing yards of any running back in the National Football League. He has more rushing yards than Josh Jacobs, than Ezekiel Elliott, than Jones, than Taylor. The only 2 running backs that have more rushing yards over the last 4 seasons are Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb. Henry has 6,042. Nick Chubb has 5,345 rushing yards during that time frame, and Dalvin Cook has 5,024 rushing yards over that time frame. So over the last 4 years, he's a top 3 running back in terms of rushing yardage, right? Now, in that same time frame, he's number 2 in rushing yards. Rushing touchdowns. So he has 43 rushing touchdowns over the last 4 seasons. And that's more than Elliott, Chubb, Jacobs, Taylor, Connor. The only running back that has more rushing touchdowns than him over the course of the last 4 seasons is Derrick Henry. So he's top 3 in rushing yards by running backs. He had the 3rd most rushing yards by a running back over the last 4 years. He has the 2nd most rushing touchdowns by running back over the last 4 years. So, he is a very good running back in terms of overall production, in terms of consistency. Like, I think he's a very good back that can bring a lot to the table. He is able to run in the A gap, the B gap. He's able to take it to the outside. He can give you explosive runs. The only question mark would be how well can he pass block. And moving forward into a West Coast system, depending on which variant that we're using, that may not be one of the biggest things that he has to do. So those are my numbers in favor of Dalvin Cook. Over the last 4 years, he's a top 3 running back. Right? Over the last 4 years, the numbers are what the numbers are. I want y'all to remember this. There are 32 teams. There's 32 starting running backs. There are 32 different offensive lines that they run behind. There's 32 different offensive schemes that they're going to be in. No running back is going to have the same situation as the next. Right? They're not going to play in the same kind of systems, not going to have the same type of responsibilities, not going to run behind the same kind of lines. They're going to be 32 different variables, amongst the running backs. So, to take numbers at face value, he's 3rd he's 3rd in rushing yards, and he's 3rd and 2nd in rushing touchdowns over the last 4 years. Now, this is going to be my argument for Ezekiel Elliott. And really, it's not about who is better and who is better fit for the Dallas Cowboys scheme and need. What the Dallas Cowboys lost in Ezekiel Elliott was a pass blocker. What they lost in Ezekiel Elliott was a goal line running back that can get the short yardage, in the goal line and stuff it in for a score. You lost your guy that can get you the tough yards on a 4th down or 3rd and short. That is what you lost with Ezekiel Elliott. So shout out to my brother Will. Will, great follow on Twitter. If you're into fantasy, he does a fantasy podcast. So salute to him. He dropped these numbers. I fact checked them. They are correct. So in 2021, Ezekiel Elliott averaged 4.5 yards an attempt over the first 11 weeks of the season. Right. So over the first 11 weeks of the season in 2021, Ezekiel Elliott was averaging 4.5 yards a game, a carry. So He played through a partially torn PCL, and then he averaged 3.6 yards the rest of the way. Right. So in 2022, he averaged 4 yards an attempt over the first 7 games of the year. He got hurt in the Lions game, and then he averaged 3.5 yards an attempt after that. So the pattern, as my brother was trying to point out, is not that Ezekiel Elliott is washed, but Ezekiel Elliott, right? Ezekiel Elliott actually got hurt, played hurt, and that's why his overall averages dipped. A 5-2 only works situationally in the new NFL because of all the wide receivers they have out there, because you have 4-3 and 4-2 running backs. So a 5-2 only works situationally. I can see a 5-2 working for us, short yardage, things like that. Definitely hard to run against with the interior defensive lineman that we have. But they used to have teams that 5-2 with their special team calling card. We'll never see that again. But I wouldn't mind seeing 5-2 sprinkled in, for situationals, for uses. He said, does Dalvin Cook want to take a backup spot? Well, this is the thing. We run a 2-back system. Ezekiel Elliott still was your running back that received the most rushing attempts last year. Ezekiel Elliott was still top 10 in rushing attempts in the NFL. Right, he had more rushing attempts than Tony Pollard. He had 234 rushing attempts last year. Ezekiel Elliott did. Tony Pollard had 198, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a system where both of the guys are probably gonna get about 200 carries. So it's not like he's just gonna come in and run the ball 3 times a game. Like there's gonna be situations where so there are gonna be situations where Dalvin Cook might get more rushing attempts than Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard might get more rushing attempts this game, than Dalvin Cook. Same thing with Ezekiel Elliott. There were games Tony Pollard, had more attempts. There were games Ezekiel Elliott had more attempts. But it's just really about who has a hot hand. And really, the whole thing about this conversation is going to come down to, what do you value more? Do you value the perfect scheme fit, or do you value who is the better player right now in their career? Right now, completely healthy, based on production over the last 4 years, Dalvin Cook is better. And you talk about who actually fits what the Dallas Cowboys want to do more, needing somebody that can pass block, needing somebody that is a red zone threat. It's Zeke. Zeke is the guy that fits that bill. So really, now that we just talked about this openly, I need to see y'all. I need y'all to put a C in the chat box for Cook. I need y'all to put a Z in the chat box for Zeke. Who y'all rocking with? Choose your fighter. Choose your contender. Who you running with, man? Put a C for Dalvin Cook. Put a Z for Ezekiel Elliott. I want to know who do y'all want, man? Who do y'all want the Dallas Cowboys to bring in? Dwayne Brown ain't going. He put about 1,000 Z's. That my boy was sleeping on me. All right. C. Nicole said Z. Dwayne Brown said Z. JC Cowboy Network said Z. Joe Tranchina said Z. Raymond Silas said C. He said he want to see that. He said he want to see Dalvin Cook. Joshua Fisher said C. He want to see Dalvin Cook. Okay, so right now, majority of y'all say y'all want Zeke back. And listen, Big Benny Rich says Z. Okay. Z. Jameson Taylor said good night. He out. Hey, salute to you, my boy. I'll get you some rest, and I will see you later, my boy. My boy, the original people, said C. He rocking with that boy Cook. Michael H said Z. Okay. C. Hey, we got a mixed bag here, man. I see a lot of y'all do want Zeke back because of scheme fit. I know a lot of y'all want Dalvin Cook because he is, the more explosive player right now. But truth be told, I am not opposed to either one of them. If the Dallas Cowboys get either one, I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna go to sleep and sleep good at night. I'm not gonna toss and turn. I'm not gonna have no nightmares. I ain't gonna, sweat it. I ain't gonna jump out my sleep screaming or nothing. Because Dalvin Cook, even though he is like a Tony Pollard clone, there's nothing wrong with running a repeat of Tony Pollard because he's a very good player. They're both very explosive. It limits what you can do protection wise. So you will have to see about getting a third back to handle your pass blocking responsibilities and your short yardage. But he is still a good player. With Zeke, he can do it all. He can pass block. And listen. Zeke had all 12 of his rushing touchdowns within the 20, right? He was doing work in the red zone. Dalvin Cook, had half as many. Only 6 of his 8 rushing touchdowns came within the red zone. So Ezekiel Elliott is the better red zone runner. He's the better pass blocker. He's the better short yardage back. Dalvin Cook is more explosive. He gives you more in the passing game. He stayed a little bit healthier. So, there it is. You really just gotta pick your poison, because at the end of the day, there really is, no wrong answer about who you want, just based on why you want them. There's a rhyme and reason for both. What's up with you, Neil? My boy, listen, Neil. You came in here an hour late. But because you did slap the potassium out of 5 more Eagles, to add on to who you slapped up in your previous show, because in the previous show you said you slapped about 16 of them, so you done slapped about 20. You done slapped about 20 plus Eagles fans, man. So I'm gonna let you make it, Neil. So shout out to my brother Neil for coming through and sliding in. Serial slapper of the year. Say, am I feeling better? I'm feeling better than I was, man. I'm feeling a lot better than I was. I feel so good. I think I'm gonna try and make it into work tomorrow. Definitely feel like I'm trying to make it into work tomorrow. So yeah, man. So it really just gonna be dependent on what you value more. It's gonna really just be dependent on what you value more within your running backs. So real quick, man, I need us to take a quick little light break. We got 52 people inside the liquor store getting drunk and belligerent with us, man. But we only got 42 likes. So I need y'all to please hit that like button for your boy, so we can run this algorithm up, so we can do what we need to do. Also, I'm gonna take a quick little break and remind y'all that we are still doing the raffle. Hey, I appreciate that, man. My boy was thinking about me, man. Brought me some meds, man. Salute to you. The Third Coast offense, I like the sound of that. What's up with it, Henny? Hey, what's up with the Johnny Woods? Thank you for tapping in with my boy. So real quick. So we are still doing the raffle for the Dallas Cowboy tickets. I said it right this time. I didn't say no jerseys. I said tickets this time. So first place winner will get a ticket with a seat attached to it. Second place winner will get a ticket for general admission. And the third place winner will get a PlayStation 4 or a Dallas Cowboy jersey of their choice. It just all depending on what they want. So, hey, and all it takes to win is one entry, man. We're gonna do a raffle. We'll draw a third place winner, we'll draw a second place winner, and we'll draw a first place winner. So, it only takes one to win. So if you want to participate, or if you just want to support the channel and the content, hit the Cash App. It's $Henny the More. And before we continue, I'm going to shout out to Neil. Neil sent entry, and boy, that got you you already leading the way. So Neil, you got 6 entries right now. So you have the best odds of winning the Dallas Cowboy tickets. So Mickey, you got 4, and VA Roster X has 4. So y'all got the second best odds of winning the Dallas Cowboy tickets. And then Dwayne Brown and Blake Y'all got 3 entries. So, that puts y'all in 3rd place. So y'all got the 3rd best odds. But remember, like I think my boy, cause my boy S.A. Richburg, he was not the leader in entries when he won. When he won his jersey, he was not the leader in entries when he won, and he won a Dallas Cowboy jersey which he received. Morquetta was not the top giver, and she won a jersey in the last raffle. So fate, like look, blesses everybody. No, I seen on Landlord raffle, the one of the people that won one of his things only had 1 entry in too. So don't ever get discouraged because you're not the top leader in raffle entries. You still got your shot. So I appreciate all y'all for the support. But let's move along. Let's move along back into the content. So for anybody that was late coming in here, we talked in depth, about the Texas Coast offense. As my brother Johnny Woods put it, the Third Coast offense. Third Coast offense sound hard to sell too. We might have to use that. We might have to coin that as a phrase, man. The third coast offense, man. So, if you were just now coming in here, we were talking about what this hodgepodge of principles would look like in the grand scheme of things, in terms of what the Dallas Cowboys might be running, in terms of what the Dallas Cowboys might be using, and what concepts from which coach would be left in. Right, so that's pretty much what we covered, at the start of the show. When we did do that, we talked about the play action, and we talked about the screen attempts not being there. But let's talk more on something that we really glossed over it too. Let's talk about Dak Prescott's, participation within the run game, and how I think that is a valued asset. I think that's a value asset going forward. So if you give me just a moment, I'm going to screen share some stuff with you, and we'll talk about Dak Prescott and his rushing output over the course of his career, and we're going to see if we can get Dak Prescott back to form. So let's take a look. So right here in front of us, we have Dak Prescott's career rushing statistics. So Dak Prescott had 282 rushing yards as a rookie. He averaged 17.6 yards a game. He ended that season with 6 rushing touchdowns. And he also averaged 4.9 yards a carry. Right? So he was very efficient with the rushing attempts he had. He was getting, almost 5 yards every time he took off running. And the beautiful thing about it, what people don't realize, he only had 57 rushing attempts. Right? He only had 57 rushing attempts, but he did good with them. 2017 was a horrible year. I know, because a lot of us remember we ended up going 9-7, missing the playoffs. Ezekiel Elliott got suspended. Tyron Smith got hurt, and Chaz Green had like a game we gave up 7 sacks. We always end up, keeping that out of our mind. But this was the year where Dak Prescott rushed for the most yards he ever rushed for. He averaged 22.3 rushing yards a game, averaged 6.3 rushing yards an attempt. And 6.3 rushing yards an attempt. And listen, he still had the same amount of rushing attempts that he did his previous year, 57. But he was much more efficient rusher. Part of that, was probably due to the Ezekiel Elliott's absence, them needing to try to find a way to solidify the rushing attack. But he definitely added that beautiful aspect of being a rushing weapon. During that year. Then let's take a look at his third season. 305 rushing yards on 75 attempts, 4.1 rushing yards. 4.1 yards an attempt, 19.1 yards per game, and he still has 6 rushing touchdowns. So over the course of Dak Prescott's first 3 years, Dak Prescott, had over 200 rushing attempts every single year, has ended up with 18 rushing touchdowns, averaged 6 rushing touchdowns a year. So he was very much involved, with the rushing offense. 2019 is when you see his rushing numbers drop. What's the correlation with 2019? What happened in 2019 that would have made Dak Prescott, not be as effective as a runner? Because remember, 2019, Dak Prescott ran the ball, the least amount of his career up to that point. As a rookie, he ran 282 times. Sophomore year, 357. The year before that, 305. 2019 was the year that Kellen Moore became the play caller, offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. That was the year that Kellen Moore stepped in. Dak Prescott rushing yards took a hit. Dak Prescott rushing attempts took a hit. They were the lowest amount of attempts he had, the lowest amount of rushing yards he had, lowest amount of rushing yards per game he had, lowest amount of rushing touchdowns in a season that he had. Now he set all kinds of records, as a passer, right? He set all kinds of personal bests as a passer. He had the most passing yards this season that he ever had. He had his first 30 passing touchdown season. Right, he did that. But, his effectiveness as a runner, took a toll. Now, the very next year, Dak Prescott got hurt. Right, this is when he got injured in 2021. In 2020, I mean. He only had 18 attempts, 93 rushing touchdowns, but he did have a game where he ran for 3 rushing touchdowns in a singular game. So we know for a fact he was not the same guy physically when he first came back 2021. You see he had the lowest his lowest amount of rushing attempts, ever, not counting the 2020 season. He only had 48 attempts, only averaged 3 attempts a carry, only averaged about 9 rushing yards a game, and only had 1 rushing touchdown. But look at the 2022 season, and we'll start to see, right? And we'll start to see that Dak Prescott, started to run more. Because compare this to the previous season. Dak Prescott in 12 games, almost had the same amount of rushing attempts as he did in a 16-game season in 2021. So his attempts, theoretically, had he stayed healthy, would have went back up, right? His rushing yards went back up, right? He had more rushing yards in this 12 games in this 12-game season than he did the entirety of that 16-game season. Excuse me. He averaged an entire yard more per attempt last year. He averaged 6 more yards a game than he did the previous season. So I believe that Dak Prescott, is getting healthier and is willing to run a little bit more, right? That's the trend that you see from the 2021 season to the 2022 season. And now that we know that Dak Prescott is willing to get back to the scramble drill, that he has talked about that very openly, that he looked very happy to be in a situation to run the ball. I expect Dak Prescott, to run a little bit more. I'm not expecting Dak Prescott to get 11 rushing attempts in a game. I do not want that. He's a 30-year-old man. I don't want him to run the ball 30 times. I don't want him to run the ball 30 times or 11 times. But I do want Dak Prescott to keep the ball occasionally on read options. I do want Dak Prescott to be a weapon in the red zone where his legs have always historically, been the difference maker in between us ending the drive with a touchdown or a field goal. I do want Dak Prescott when there's room and an opportunity in a lane to take off running for a first down, and not just take a sack or try to force a throw. Yes. And you just need to do that, you know, to keep the defense honest. Because if you never let your quarterback run the ball, all your defensive ends are going to do is crash. All they're going to do is crash in. Well, if you crash in and that keeps the ball, he's going to escape and he's going to get a lot of positive yardage. My boy Iceberg Slim said that's why Kellen being young and immature doomed him. They have taken apart of something he built and make another offense from his playbook. Double R said, I'm excited to see the Cowboys on offense this season. Going to be crazy. My opinion, crazy good, by the way. I agree with you on that, man. I completely agree with you. Until Dak throws 30 interceptions in a 16-game time period like good old Winston did, I don't want to hear shit. I know, man. Like, people be acting like Dak Prescott, didn't like set an all-world record in interceptions. Like, 15 interceptions is not a lot of interceptions. It's really not. That was the problem. When Dak ran the RPO, defense knew there was a small chance he was going to keep the ball and run while running the RPO. Yeah, if you're not going to let Dak Prescott keep the ball, you're better off running a true, you're better off running a true zone run instead of even trying to sell the possibility of Dak keeping it. Because listen. A lot of Dak Prescott's touchdown runs, he's running in untouched because they crashed the defensive end crashed in so hard on the linebacker, and the quarterback just had so much free room to keep the ball and walk into the end zone. So, and there's always smart ways to do these things. Yeah, Harold Jones, you're right. Mike McCarthy said this is Dak Prescott's offense. And like he said, he want Dak to be comfortable. Because one thing that he did say, Dak asked him how he wanted called, and his answer to him was, "It's your huddle. You're the one going to be leading these guys. You're the one to be the one in between the lines. You call it how you feel like you want to call it. You do what you got to do to communicate it. And, we'll go from there." He made a lot of comments too, man, similar to that. So, I definitely do believe, that they will have a very potent offense this season. He said the Dakos offense. Well, man, we covered the Tex Coast offense, and we covered Dalvin Cook and the Zeke Elliott debate. Now we're going to move towards the question and answer segment of this good old show. So, I need all of y'all to participate. There are 44 of y'all. I need about 44 questions put in the chat box. Right? I need everybody to put at least one question in the chat box, and we're going to rock out and do some Q&A for a little while. We're gonna always keep the liquor store open, as long as y'all want the liquor store to be open. Because y'all got to get your fix. You got to get drunk on the content with your boy. I understand. So, I need y'all to put y'all questions in the chat box. It could be about, different things with the conceptually. It could be about personnel. It can be about off-season rumors. It could be about OTAs. It could be about gambling, right? Because we make tickets. We sports gamble over here, right? It could be about anything. So, they put your questions in the chat box, and I'll make sure to get to them because this is y'all segment of the show. This is the Q&A segment. So let me know what y'all want to talk about. Double R, you asked the same question before. He said, can we have the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders on the practice field? Probably not. Probably not. Said Mike McCarthy got fired from Green Bay because his offense got outdated. Thanks to Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy now knows how to set a hybrid offense. I agree with that. Which rookie you think going to make an impact other than Mozzie? Because they're the defensive players, and Dan Quinn likes to use multiple, looks. I could see Junior Fihoko, going out there and making an impact. They are very high on him playing 3-tech. They're very high on him and his motor. So there's a possibility of Junior Fihoko. I can also see a scenario where the Morvian Overshown get some rotational play. I'm not saying he's going to play a lot, but I can see Overshown getting in. But I don't really see a whole bunch of young guys contributing outside of Mozzie Smith. Mozzie Smith is going to be a starter just about. Right, they're already playing him with the first team along Jonathan Hankins. I'm not really sure what Schoonmaker can give me right now. So those would be my guys. The defensive guys, I can see them getting some rotation and making an impact, but I don't really see, a path to a lot of the other guys getting on the field. He said, with the way we have progressed since Mike got here, wouldn't the floor this season be the NFC Championship game? Yes. The floor would be the NFC Championship game because you want to add on to your success year in and year out. The first year that Mike McCarthy was here, we missed the playoffs due to Dak Prescott's injury. The second year, we won 12 games and made the playoffs. The next year, we won 12 games and won a playoff game, then lost in the second round. What you really want to do this season is win a division, and try and get to the NFC Championship game. That should be the floor. You should always shoot to try and win the Super Bowl. But, you take baby steps. You want to win the division first, improve your playoff seeding, try and get you a bye. If you get your bye, then, win your first game, get to the NFC Championship game and see where it falls. So, yes, the floor should be NFC Championship game. I heard today Cox is looking good. How do you think that will affect Overshown getting on the field if Cox keep turning up? It's going to come down to preseason. Like, those roster decisions are not usually made, in minicamp. Dallas Cowboys are not going to go full speed until July the 31st. July the 31st, they'll be in full pads, going full speed, having contact. So, if he is still playing at a high level, then, that's a different story. But, it's open to who can actually win more reps right now. Right? Because this is the part of the season where everybody's supposed to look good. You're not really playing full speed. You're not doing this or that. You're not getting hit. This the area where everybody looks good. The boys get separated from the men. And, the men get separated from the monsters, during Oxnard and during preseason and during the season itself. So, we won't really know where everything falls until then. But, in theory, if Jabril Cox balls out, that's still good because this is just going to be the first season. This is just going to be the first season for Overshown. So even if Overshown cannot get on the field year one, he's a third-round pick with a lot of upside. There's a lot of guys that may not be back. So if Cox can give us something, I'm fine with it. Yeah, preseason going to determine a lot. Dallas going to score 50 points on the Chargers. Kellen is going to say, this muck stole my sets. He going to be pissed. I can feel that. True or false? Josh Allen is the white Kirk Cousins. Josh Allen is a very turnover prone quarterback. Excuse me. He's a very turnover prone quarterback. So yeah. Henny, do you believe what's your weakest position on the defense? Linebacker, middle linebacker. I'm not just gonna say linebacker, middle linebacker would be the weakest position. Do you believe Jerry is doing more this offseason? He's done more this offseason than he done in previous seasons. He went out there and got you Brandon Cooks. He went out there and got you Stephon Gilmore. No, they actually gave a damn about fixing the run defense by going out and get Mozzie Smith. You know, the only thing I need them to do now is sign a kicker. Well, my goal is to attend the Dallas Cowboys versus the Jets home opener game. That's my goal. And that's one of the games I'm most excited about. I was surprised and not surprised to see Josh Allen on the. Yeah, he sucks. I ain't gonna say the boy sucks. Josh Allen does not suck. He's a good quarterback, but he's very overrated. Yeah, you could say that he's Kirk Cousins with a stronger arm and more mobility. But yeah, it's hard for me to understand how you can lead the NFL in turnovers and still get the batting cover. But yeah, man, I done gave y'all an hour and 26 of some premium Dallas Cowboys content. So I appreciate y'all for tapping in and showing love to the liquor store, rocking with your boy the way that y'all been rocking with me. So I'm actually gonna go lay down, medicate, put this video together. I got another video coming for y'all. It's gonna cover some of the things that we talked about in terms of this Texas Coast offense, but it's gonna be in a shorter version. Only gonna be a couple minutes long. I'm putting the footage and stuff together for it. So I'm gonna try and release that tonight. So I'm gonna go over here and relax, medicate, try to get that done. But I appreciate y'all for rocking with your boy. On the way out, please continue to hit that like button, continue to hit that share button, continue to support the raffle and hit that Cash App $ Henny the more to get your raffle entries in. And continue to flood, the universe and flood, the internet with this fire ass content. My boy said B-Bird said he's going to the game. Hey, Raymond, the interview is supposed to be next week now. It's supposed to be next week now. He was in the market for a custom travel trailer. Hey, appreciate you, Dwayne Brown. Salute to you. He said he about to step out with the wife. So, hey, enjoy, man. Enjoy. So, yeah, man, I thank y'all. I appreciate the love and support. Like I said, I'm finna go medicate and work on this. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the Cash App. I'm gone. Stop all the Eagles fans and skirt. Y'all know what's up, man. God bless. Peace. I'm a